Hey everybody, what's going on? It is James here with Crypto Common Sense, and I have a big update video for you. Today's date is February 1st, 2022. Before I jump into the content, please do me a huge favor. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And of course, don't forget to check the description for a link where you can join Patreon for just $7 a month. At least at the time of shooting this video, that price is going to go up. And anybody who joins after that will have to pay more. So first things first, where have I been? Well, I've been sick. I got sick the day after Christmas. I got COVID. I got pneumonia first, and then I started to get better. I had shot a video talking about how I thought I was finally starting to feel a little better. That was back around the 10th of January, and then things went bad. They went real bad. I got COVID, and then I got double pneumonia, and my lungs partially collapsed, and it was bad. My wife caught it probably from me and ended up in the hospital for 10 days. She just was able to come home finally 2 days ago. She got COVID and double pneumonia and ended up attacking her pancreas and some other stuff. And so we were both very, very sick to the point where I had to start having conversations. What happens if you both pass away? You know, where does your daughter go? So the last few weeks have been pretty bad, and I have over the last 2 or 3 days, I probably sound pretty good. I feel pretty good. Over the last 2 or 3 days, I've done like a 180, and it's just been wonderful to be able to breathe again. I'm no longer on supplemental oxygen. I no longer nearly pass out every time I get up and go to the bathroom. It was bad. I lost over 10% of my body weight. My wife lost over 15% of her body weight. So we got the living shit kicked out of us by COVID. So this isn't a political video. This isn't to tell you what to do with your health. That's your business. I would say be mindful that if you do get COVID, if you have pre-existing conditions, take it very seriously. Because what I said all along was when COVID first hit, I was very, very worried about it because my family had pre-existing conditions, and I felt like if we caught COVID, that we would be the people that had a really hard time with it, and that is exactly what happened. The one bright spot was my daughter got it as well, and she did not struggle with it near as badly as we did. She was sick for about 10 days, and she has asthma, so I was very worried about her as well, but she fared a lot better than my wife and I did. So that's where I've been. Literally trying not to die. Okay, let's talk about charts. So I have not looked at charts over the last couple of weeks. I have a general idea that the market obviously crashed. I haven't taken any trades. I don't know what the stock market looks like. I don't know what anything looks like. I'm literally sitting down working for the first time in several weeks. And the very first chart that I pulled up, and I wanted to do most of this off the cuff for this very reason. The very first chart I pulled up was this 3-day Bitcoin chart. Now, let's take a look at this chart because I really want you to understand that market movements are not mysteries. Market movements, happen for different reasons. There's different catalysts that might set that move into motion. But the moves themselves should not be surprises to you, especially on a macro time frame, on larger time frames. So this channel that you see, this blue channel, was the channel that I drew up well over a month ago, right? I don't know exactly when I drew it. It was back when price was up in this area somewhere, maybe over in this area. But I said that this looked like an upward sloping channel. And all we did when Bitcoin broke down, it had the head and shoulders. I do specifically remember talking about this head and shoulders, saying that if this was a fake out, that we probably get a move up toward like 50, 55K. And then if it broke down, that our target was down around like 16K ultimately long term. And so obviously it did break through that neckline. And where did it go? Right to the bottom of this channel. And so at least on a smaller time frame trade, like a day trade, day traders will find stuff like this and they'll take a trade, right? When this 3-day candle closed here, leaving behind this big tail sitting right on that support, there's scalp opportunities inside of there. Now, some people will take swing trades, they'll start taking positions like this here, expecting that to be the bottom of that pivot, and then they'll go for something, like this here. I'm not as big of a fan of that because it's a lot larger move. You'd have to move up 20%, right, just to get that 2 to 1. But scalpers, they'll zoom in and they might have a stop loss that's much, much smaller and just look for some type of counter rally back up this level here. And a lot of those guys, they might end up getting a 5, 6, 7, 8 to 1 fighting that downtrend just by realizing that channel was in play and that they're bouncing off that channel. Now, this doesn't mean that this is going to go back up to 50, 60, 70K or anything like that. It's just a channel and it's hit the bottom of it, right? Obviously, now there's going to be a pretty big test at this level here. This level is going to have to be taken out by the bulls if they can hope for any kind of further upside. Okay, so that's kind of the 3-day chart. One surprise that I did see when I pulled this up was it did go right outside of this box. I mean, the box just gave way, and I had talked about in the previous video, a lot of times when you break outside the box, there's a buying opportunity there. At least that had been the case back in March of 2020, and of course December of 2018, November of 2018. So maybe this does end up being a buying opportunity. Maybe this does have a nice big move up. It'll be interesting to see. As far as a weekly chart goes, let's try to find one. So this is a weekly chart here. Again, this is the same blue channel, so we don't need to talk about it again. But we can talk about the fact that obviously it is not yet retested its 19-week moving average. So do bear in mind that markets like to retest that. In a bull market, they like to come down and retest it as a bullish retest. In a bear market, they like to go up and retest it. Technically speaking, this is still a ranging market right now. I know a lot of people have probably flipped totally bearish and everything because it's just the way markets work. Emotions swing from one side of the pendulum to the other. But realistically speaking, this is not taking out this low back here. It is still inside of this channel and it is still moving sideways. So this is technically still more of a ranging market than a trending market on these larger weekly time frames. This is not a weekly, a big weekly downtrend or a big weekly uptrend. It's really moving sideways. Okay, and now, yes, this is a downtrend right here. You obviously have your low, your lower high, your lower low. I'm not saying there's no downtrend. I'm just saying if you look at it on the bigger picture, this is really more of a range, okay? So it wouldn't surprise me to see this come up and retest this 19-week moving average, even though it is up around 51,000. I know it's a far cry from where price is at right now, but this was a really strong move in one direction without a whole lot of pushback. It fell about 52%, over $36,000 per Bitcoin. So, to get a move back up, 50% dead cat bounce, if you want to call it that, it wouldn't be that absurd. And again, a lot of it's going to depend on what the stock market does, because even without looking at stocks, and I haven't looked at them yet, I know I read, got enough tidbits of news on my phone in bed that I know the stock market took a big beating. And so, time and time again, Bitcoin has proven that it is not a store of value, but rather a risk-on asset. So if the stock market looks good, Bitcoin typically does pretty well. And if the stocks look bad, then Bitcoin typically does very badly. This is just the way the world works. All right, so we did pop outside the bottom of this box too, which was very shocking to me. I did not expect it to happen so quickly. So again, same thing. December of 2018 and March of 2020 both presented really good buying opportunities. Maybe this will be the case as well. This box seems to be losing its potency. The stock market's kind of pushing things around, and so I think that's why that box is becoming less and less reliable, and I'll probably end up just taking it off at some point fairly soon. All right, so that's kind of the weekly. The one thing about the weekly, keep in mind that, again, pouring into control is way down, around $10,000, $12,000 ballpark, right? Well, on this one it says $1,500, but really around this $12,000 level, right? So there's still a lot of potential downside if this doesn't, rolling over into a crypto winter. A lot of, bleeding can still happen. If we take a look at a monthly chart, the first chart let's take a look at, this is the Bitcoin versus QQQ. So this is that bubble chart that I posted up several months ago that some people really hated. Oh, you're just trying to cherry pick something that fits your narrative, and this was way over here at the time. No, this is following a bubble, right? It's measuring Bitcoin versus the QQQ, which is, of course, an ETF from the NASDAQ. We can also look at it like this. Use the US 100 if that makes people happier, right? Either way, this thing is down in a huge way. So this was when I posted it back in November. It looks like it was around 3.62 at the time. So now it's down to 2.6. So it's fallen about, tumbled about 34, almost 35% from that post. So it's still very possible this is what's happening with Bitcoin. Now this is measuring Bitcoin versus stocks. What this means is that, stocks may stabilize a bit and Bitcoin may still fall, or stocks may fall and Bitcoin may fall even more and make this chart come to fruition, right? At this point, we would be probably closer to anxiety if this is happening. Not quite anxiety yet, right? But getting pretty close to that point. Let's look at just a regular monthly chart without the relative strength, just pure Bitcoin versus US dollars. So, some get bullish stuff back here from who knows when. On a monthly level, basically what Bitcoin has done has come back down and retested this level through here, this demand zone, if you will. So it held up, right? It bounced off of it. It closed January up off of that level. So these are the levels to watch. Right now, my bias after 3 red monthly candles would be some type of relief bounce at the very least, and then probably more downside after that. But I wouldn't expect it to put in 3 red candles, put in a tail like this, and then just continue down and take out this demand box. That would be surprising. Even in bear markets, we don't normally see more than 3 red monthly candles unless it's the capitulation phase of the bear market. So for example, in 2019, we got 3, and then we got that big relief bounce, right? From the low in September of 2019, it bounced almost 37%. If you look back here in 2018, there was never more than 3 reds until capitulation, right? If we look back, this is probably not going to go back far enough. Let's see. This will be 2017, 2016. Here's 2015 again. You got those 3 reds and then, right, green. And this was actually the bottom back here. So I don't suspect that we'll get a 4th red candle. But again, a lot of that's going to depend on the U.S. stock market and how it fares. So since we keep talking about U.S. stocks, let's take a look at a stock chart. Here's the U.S. 100. So the U.S. 100 was in this downtrend, right? Moving down steadily. And again, I stopped looking at charts back at probably around 12th or 13th of January. So it had bounced off the bottom of this, broke out. Looks like it's retesting it right now. But I don't care so much about the daily. That was more for day trading, looking for opportunities. On a weekly chart, this is obviously a bit of a problem. It did take out this low back here. So this looks like a double top. So you could get a retest of that neckline and then more downside still. This is a really big move down in stocks. This was a drop of over 18%. So that's, that's huge. If you look at a monthly chart, obviously has some topping tails up here before this horrific January candle. So again, this could put in some kind of dead cat bounce. Bitcoin could have that dead cat bounce at the same time and then more downside. So keep an eye on that. The US 30, let's take a look at it real fast. On a weekly level, I actually had it as trending up. It was inside this nice weekly channel. I pinged off of it here and then pinged off of it here. This is back in early January, mid-January. Again, this is where my health went off the rails, so I didn't continue watching, but there would have been some really good opportunities maybe to look for shorts up here, or at least to buy some puts after tapping the top of that channel for the 3rd time, leaving behind that topping tail, plus having that bearish hammer type of candle there. So it did drop significantly off that candle, about over 10%. Really, really nasty move down. Okay, but this looks more like testing the bottom of this range here, so we'll see how this plays out. And then finally, the US 500. This is kind of a wonky double top, broke that neckline, and again, need to watch for, what this is. Is this a retest? Is this a dead cat bounce? What is this? Okay, so I could go a lot deeper in this stuff, but I feel my chest starting to get congested here. So I'm not gonna overdo it and screw myself up. But I did want to do an update, kind of give you guys my opinions on what's going on. And I just thought it was very interesting that even after not looking at charts for a couple of weeks, that lines that I had drawn up a month, 2 months ago, etc., were still doing exactly what you would expect, right? Just moving between those lines. So one thing I would say is watch the volume, okay? Really, really watch the volume, because when you get these weak moves up on low volume, a lot of times they do present really, really good short opportunities. And it's also one way you can tell that something is a fake out. I don't even know when I drew this line, but look at this. This is that W back from September, that W neckline. I said, hey, if we break this, I think it'll go higher. It did. Look at how crazy these lines are. I bounced off of it here in December, obviously. When it broke through it, right here is that retest, right in mid-January, and then it just absolutely collapsed. So that's what markets do. They just move between levels of supply and demand, and whichever side, has more supply or more demand, that's the side that wins, and that's the direction the market moves. All that being said, I'm going to wrap the video up there. I hope you guys enjoyed the update. I hope you fared at least decently over these last few weeks. There was a lot of opportunity to make money as long as you weren't blindsided by it and drinking the crypto Kool-Aid. All right. And the stock Kool-Aid, right? A lot of stocks, man, just to point this out, this is not just a crypto thing. A lot of stocks were hammered. This is Netflix stock. I saw this on the news the other day. This thing dropped over 30% over the course of like 3 days, right? I mean, it gapped down like 20%. So people who were drinking this Netflix Kool-Aid got just freaking smoked. I mean, back here in November, this thing was $700 a share. And then here in January, it fell all the way to $351, a 50% drop. You had stocks like the MicroStrategy stock. Here it was back here when everybody was screaming about Bitcoin going to $1 bajillion, right? Their stocks up there at $1,300, and then suddenly this month in January or last month, $300 stock, right? Look at this drop on this thing. 76% drop. And I believe, I can't swear to it, but I believe that Michael Saylor, who at one point was up billions of dollars on his Bitcoin purchases, when Bitcoin hit its low over these last couple of weeks, I'm fairly certain that he was actually underwater on his Bitcoin purchase. How crazy is that? You had stuff like the president of one of those countries that was very abrasive and talking a lot of smack to people about Bitcoin when it was back around 48, 50K. Their country was down 30, 40% on their investment. Upset a lot of people. You had people like, this was a little bit satisfying to me because, I just kept seeing articles on Cathie Wood, and Cathie Wood this, and Cathie Wood says to buy this, and Cathie Wood says to put your money here, and Cathie Wood did an article saying that Michael Berry didn't understand markets a few months ago, right? Well, here's Cathie Wood's ARK Invest ETF. This thing shit the bed almost 60%, right? From a high in February of 2021 at 159.70 to a low in January of 2022 of $64.35. That's nearly 60% drop, right? You had stocks like NEO, and I had puts on NEO, so I was very aware of what was happening with this, right? I had $20 puts for May of 2020, which I bought for next to nothing. And here it was, right? Hit 1931 in January of 2022, even faster than I expected. Just following this simple downtrend, right? This was not rocket science here. And I had posted this up in my free channels talking about buying puts right here. I bought more puts right here. These were all very, very simple plays. You had things like Tesla, right? Completely fell apart. Look at this, double top, leaves behind this topping tail right here. And then what happens? Boom, 34% drop, over $400 a share. You had things like Twitter, just sitting inside of this triangle. I remember doing a video about this several months back, right? Had the third touch right here, leaves behind this huge topping tail with this bearish candle. I mean, that right there is a reason to look for short positions, or a reason to look for to buy puts, etc., or at the very least, if you're holding this stock, this would have been a reason to say, hey, I should probably unload at least some of my Twitter at $62 a share. And next thing you know, Twitter's way down here at $32.05, right? Massive drop over the last year, 60% drop. This is what a bubble popping looks like, okay? We had all these massive run-ups where these stocks ran up hundreds and thousands of percent, same thing with cryptos, and now reality is setting in. Those are not sustainable gains. And now a lot of cryptocurrencies and a lot of stocks are down 30, 50, 70, 80, 90 plus percent. I think Litecoin got especially hammered, if I remember right. Oh, it did. Look at this, right? So Litecoin from its 2021 high, look at this, almost a 77% drop. That's a bear market all by itself. Whether you like Bitcoin or not, whether you like crypto or not, 77% drop on an asset, right? That's just terrible. And even from back here in November, it dropped almost 68%, which again, is something I've talked about in the past. It doesn't matter where you buy at. When these things collapse, you will lose most of your money, right? So if you bought here in May, way higher than here, well, at the bottom, you were down 76%, almost 77%. Well, if you bought here, you're down 68%. Not a whole lot of difference in those two. Somebody put in 1,000 here, was down $760. Somebody put in 1,000 here, was down $680, right? Almost the same result, regardless of where you invested, whether you invested up around 400 or whether you invested at 300. So it's definitely been a case of maybe it's good that I've been sick, so I wasn't sitting here saying, I told you so, I told you so. But yeah, for people that lost money, no, I don't feel sorry for them. Not one bit. And I know that sounds harsh and I know that sounds mean, but when I spent 4 years, telling people, hey, look, these are how bubbles work, these are how markets work, and I had people, throwing shit in my face the whole time, saying, I was crazy and this time was different and blah, 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 blah. No, I don't feel sorry for those people, right? Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is ignorance. And it is very expensive to be ignorant. So, and look, I took a huge hit. Unfortunately for me, being down and being away from the charts and stuff like that, there were definitely investments that I wanted to get out of. There were definitely moves that I wanted to make. And I did miss some opportunities, both to, lock in some of my own gains, but also to make gains on these big moves. It just so happens that's the way the world worked. I got, knocked to my butt. So I'm not laughing at anybody. I'm not taking joy in anybody's misfortune. But I am saying, if you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar, learn from it and grow from it, because these markets will be here forever. Okay? And if you treat them as a long-term income source, where you can go to them day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, you'll be fine, right? It's only when you're chasing the get-rich-quick dreams where you over-leverage yourself and overexpose yourself. When something like this happens, it just crushes you. With all that being said, please remember I am some guy sitting in a spare bedroom, so nothing in the video is financial advice. You should always go out and do your own due diligence and seek out professional financial advice from a licensed financial advisor for making any type of investment in cryptocurrency, the stock market, precious metals, or Forex. If you haven't already, make sure to give the video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And like I said, make sure to go ahead and join that Patreon for just $7 a month. The price will be rising this month. This is James with Crypto Common Sense, reminding you to please trade safe.